Chapter 4 of A Different Cowboy by Joe Jones. Johnny had been camping out under the stars lately because he knew that his siblings were mad at him and probably wouldn't let him come back home anyway. Which Johnny was fine with. He was a true cowboy, and elements didn't bother him. He had learned how to live off the land from a very early age. Word had already spread through town about Johnny and Tessa. Although they had not been romantically involved with each other yet, people assumed they were. Johnny had some supplies in the back of his chuck wagon, but he still needed to go home to get the rest of his belongings. A few more cast iron skillets, a lantern to see at night, and a few more pairs of clothes. Johnny had all of his guns up with him. He always made sure he never left the house without them. You never know when trouble could break out in those days. So, he thought about it for a minute, and he decided to head back to the ranch, knowing there would be trouble. He headed there at dawn. That was when everyone woke up and headed out to work cattle. It would be the best time to avoid anyone's presence. He arrived at the ranch to see all three of his brother's horses gone. Good, he thinks to himself. He opens the old front door slowly and walks to the back of the house to his old room to find that his room is completely cleared out. The room was empty. He looks out the back window to see a pile of rubble smoking. Sons of bitches, I bet that's my stuff. They set all of my stuff on fire. Right as he turns to his right, walking through the doorway, he's punched in the face from the side. He falls to the floor, dazed. As he sits up and fixes his cowboy hat, he looks up to see Leroy standing over him. "What the hell, Leroy?" "Kiss my ass, Johnny, you damn traitor," says Leroy. "Pa done told you to stop hanging around her, and you're giving up your cowboy life to help her. We were up on that hill. We seen you fixing her house. This house needs to be fixed more." Johnny wipes the blood off his lip and says, "I'm not giving up on my cowboy life. I'm giving up on a racist family. To do what's right." With this, Leroy kicks Johnny in the face. "I ought to just kill you my damn self. Do Pa and this whole town a favor. He'd be proud. I'm tired of hearing about this. I'm tired of seeing it," he says as he pulls out his revolver and pulls the hammer back. Just as he does this, the door busts open. "What the hell are you doing, Leroy?" says a man with a big mustache and a deep voice. Johnny sees it's another one of his friends named Sam. The last he had heard of Sam was when he had left town a few months ago and headed up north to Montana, but must have changed his mind halfway throughout the trip. But boy, was Johnny glad he did. "Put your iron up," he demands to Leroy. Leroy stares at Johnny as he puts his pistol back in the holster. "This ain't over, Johnny," he says as Johnny walks out of the door. Sam and Johnny get back on their horses and ride away. They stop when they're clear of the ranch. Before Johnny has the chance to say anything, Sam looks at him and says, "I already know what's going on. I just left town after hearing that they're looking for you. I figured I'd go by the ranch to see if you were there, and I'm glad I did. He was about to turn you into hog feed," Sam said. "Yeah, my own damn brother. Can you believe that?" asked Johnny. "Unfortunately, I can. We live in a country where what you're doing is not welcome nor accepted, and that's a damn shame." Johnny looks over and says, "So you support me hanging around with her?" Sam raises his brow and says, "Love is a strong thing, and who the hell am I to get in your way, partner?" Johnny then explains why he went back to the ranch, and Sam gives him what he has to help him. "Thanks a lot," says Johnny. "You bet. I'm staying in town and the hotel above the saloon. I'll keep an ear out to keep you informed on what's going on. You're the talk of the town right now, so just lay low for a few days. I'll come find you," Sam says. and then he rode off back to town. Johnny and Ranger laid low for a few days. Then he rode back to see Tessa one more time. She looks out the window from the kitchen and smiles. She walks out the door to greet him. He jumps off of Ranger and is holding something behind his back as he walks to her. She gets worried because she still doesn't know too much about him. Could it be a gun behind his back? She wonders. Her anxiety builds as he gets closer. He stops and pulls out a bouquet of wildflowers and hands them to her. She's relieved and smiles. Wow, these are gorgeous. Nobody has ever brought me flowers before, she says. Well, it took me a long time to find those. I tried to find some that matched your beauty, and I'm sorry, but I failed. I found that nothing is as beautiful as you. Tears fill Tessa's eyes. She opens her arms to give Johnny a hug. But as he's walking closer, a gunshot rings out from up top the hill, overlooking the valley. A bullet strikes Johnny in the back of the shoulder, and he falls into Tessa's arms. He looks up at her and says, "Didn't think this would be the way I first hugged you." He looks back and sees a cowboy on top of the hill with a long rifle pointed at them. Another shot rings out, missing them both by inches. Johnny pulls his revolver and fires, but misses the man. He's just too far away. "Get in the house! Get in the house!" he yells as she grabs him and helps him inside as Johnny continues shooting. They get inside and slam the door. Shots continue to hit the house. A window breaks as Johnny holds Tessa in one arm and a pistol in the other. "Stay down," he says to her as he rushes to the window to get a good shot. But as he peeks out of the windows, he sees the outlaw riding off on his horse. He returns to Tessa, who is clearly shaken and crying from the attack. He tries to hold her and comfort her. "Get off of me," she screams through the tears. "I told you I don't want no trouble being brought here. You need to leave." So as Johnny begins to walk to the front door, he begins to get very lightheaded, and the room begins to darken. He collapses to the floor. When Johnny finally comes to, he's lying on a cot in an unfamiliar room, confused. He tries to sit up and feels a sharp pain in his back. He yelps in pain. He looks to his left to see bloody rags on the dresser beside him. The door begins to creak open. Tessa pops her head in. "Finally awake, cowboy?" she asks. "Yes." "Where's Ranger?" asked Johnny. "He's fine. I tied him up to the porch so he wouldn't go anywhere." "Oh, thank you," says Johnny, relieved. Tessa looks at him and says, "Now I'm going to need you to hurry up and get well. You got a window to fix next. It's your fault." They both laugh. He looks over and sees a bullet on a plate with some scissors and needles beside it. "Did you operate on me?" he asked. "Yes, I did. Had to, or you was going to die." "And the way I seen it, I had two choices after you passed out. Either operate on you, or dig a 6-foot hole. I chose the path of least resistance." They both laugh again. He thanks her. "Wait, you stitched me up too?" "Mm-hmm. I was a slave, Johnny. We had to learn how to stitch each other up. We got whipped all the time." She turns around and pulls her shirt down, revealing her back to him. He sees the whelps and deep scars that permanently striped her back. He looks on in disbelief. "So don't whine too much, cowboy. I've dealt with much worse." This concludes Chapter 4 of A Different Cowboy by Joe Jones.